Father in prison arranges deaths of his children for no real reason. Every neighborhood seems peaceful until something unimaginable happens. In the quiet streets of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, the Green family appeared to live a normal life. Faith Green, a loving mother of four, and her husband Gregory, a regular churchgoer, seemed to have built the perfect family, but on September 21st, 2016, their story would shake the entire community to its core. Today's story takes us through one of the most heartbreaking cases of family violence, where a mother's worst fears came true despite her desperate attempts to protect her children. 4 young lives, Chadney, Kara, Coy, and Kaylee, were lost in a single day, leaving behind questions that would haunt their community forever. Before we dive into this powerful story, take a moment to join our community by hitting subscribe. Your support helps us share these important stories that remind us to look deeper than the surface. Don't forget to like this post if you want to see more real-life stories like this one. This isn't just another crime story. It's a wake-up call about trust, second chances, and the importance of listening when someone asks for help. Let's begin. On a quiet Wednesday morning of September 21st, 2016, the peaceful neighborhood of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, was shattered by the discovery of an unthinkable tragedy. In the basement of what seemed like an ordinary home, police found Faith Green, age 39, bound with zip ties, her mouth cut, and suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The scene that greeted first responders would haunt them for years to come. Near Faith's feet lay the bodies of her 2 teenage children, Chadney, a bright 19-year-old college student, and Kara, a promising 17-year-old high school senior. Both had been shot execution-style in the head. The horror of that morning didn't stop there. As police searched the rest of the house, they made an even more heartbreaking discovery. In the garage, inside a parked car with its engine running, officers found Faith's 2 youngest children, Coy, age 5, and Kalei, age 4. The innocent siblings had been poisoned by carbon monoxide fumes, a method so cruel it shook even the most experienced detectives. According to the medical examiner's report, the young children had likely been unconscious within minutes and passed away shortly after. Dearborn Heights, a suburban city just outside Detroit, typically saw relatively low crime rates. Statistics from 2016 showed the overall crime rate was 14% below the national average. However, the area had been experiencing a troubling rise in violent crimes, particularly in its southeastern neighborhoods. Local police records indicated a 33% increase in violent offenses compared to the previous 5 years, with residents facing a 1 in 50 chance of becoming victims of any type of crime. Faith Green's story began far from this tragedy. Born in 1977 in Detroit, Michigan, she grew up in a close-knit family that valued education and community involvement. As a young girl, Faith showed exceptional talent in the arts, particularly in dance and theater. Throughout her school years at Lincoln Park High School, she participated in numerous drama productions and local theater groups. Her teachers often praised her natural ability to connect with audiences and her dedication to perfecting her craft. After graduating high school in 1995, Faith pursued her education at Wayne State University, where she studied health sciences. Despite her early passion for performing arts, she developed a strong interest in nutrition and wellness. She graduated in 1999 with a bachelor's degree in nutritional science, maintaining an impressive 3.8 GPA throughout her college years. Her career as a nutritionist at a local wellness center helped many clients achieve their health goals, and she was known for her compassionate approach to patient care. The turning point in Faith's life came in 2005 when she met Gregory Green in circumstances that would later. Gregory Green's early life began in 1966, born into what appeared to be a respectable family with deep religious roots. His sisters were active members of their local church, known for their community service and dedication to faith. However, Gregory's childhood took a difficult turn when both his parents abandoned him at a young age. This early trauma, according to child psychology experts, often leads to deep-seated emotional issues that can manifest later in life. Despite these challenges, Gregory managed to maintain a seemingly normal life into his 20s, though those who knew him noted his struggle with anger management. In 1991, at the age of 25, Gregory's life appeared to take a positive turn when he met and married LaTanya Green. LaTanya, a caring mother of 2 children from a previous relationship, worked as a dental assistant and was known in her community for her warm personality and dedication to her children. Friends described them as a happy couple initially, with Gregory showing genuine interest in being a stepfather to LaTonya's children. Their relationship seemed to flourish, and soon they were expecting their own child together, with LaTonya reaching the 30-week mark in her pregnancy by mid-July 1991. However, the pregnancy seemed to trigger a dark change in Gregory's behavior. What started as minor disagreements escalated into frequent arguments, with Gregory becoming increasingly controlling and aggressive. Neighbors later reported hearing heated arguments coming from their home several times a week. LaTonya confided in her best friend from high school, Sarah Williams, about the deteriorating situation at home. Medical records would later show that LaTonya had visited the emergency room twice during her pregnancy, though she had given different explanations for her injuries. The situation reached its breaking point on Sunday, July 14, 1991. LaTonya, fearing for her safety and that of her unborn child, had carefully planned her escape. She shared her intentions with her friend Sarah, explaining that she would attend church the next morning as usual, but instead of returning home, she would go to her sister's house in Toledo, about 2 hours away. She had already packed a small bag and hidden it in her car's trunk. Local weather reports from that day showed it was an unusually warm Sunday, with temperatures reaching 88 degrees Fahrenheit. The plan never came to fruition. Gregory, who had been monitoring LaTonya's phone calls, discovered her intentions to leave. According to police reports, at approximately 11:45 p.m., neighbors heard loud noises and screaming coming from the Green residence. In a horrifying act of violence, Gregory attacked LaTonya with a kitchen knife, inflicting multiple fatal wounds. The medical examiner's report would later reveal that LaTonya had suffered 15 stab wounds, primarily to her neck, chest, and abdomen. The unborn child, a boy they had planned to name Marcus, did not survive. The aftermath of the crime revealed Gregory's chilling composure. At exactly 1:27 a.m., he calmly called 911 and reported his actions. Police body camera footage showed him sitting peacefully on his front porch when they arrived, and he directed them to the kitchen with an eerily calm demeanor. Inside the house, officers found LaTonya's 7-year-old son hiding in a bedroom closet, traumatized but physically unharmed. Her 9-year-old daughter had fortunately been staying at a friend's house that night. During the subsequent trial, Gregory's attempt to plead insanity failed after 3 separate psychiatric evaluations found him mentally competent. The judge, noting the premeditated nature of the crime, sentenced him to 15 to 20 years in prison. Though many in the community felt the sentence was too lenient given the brutality of the crime. Between 1991 and 2007, Gregory Green's life was confined within the walls of Michigan State Prison. During these 16 years, his path to freedom proved challenging, with the parole board denying his release 4 consecutive times. Records from his early parole hearings revealed a disturbing lack of remorse, with one board member noting in 2001 that Green appeared to blame his deceased wife for provoking the attack. However, Green's situation began to change around 2005, largely due to an extensive support network that emerged to advocate for his release. His family, particularly his sister Marie Green Thompson, made regular visits and helped him connect with religious counseling services. The prison chaplain reported that Green attended religious services 3 times a week and participated in Bible study groups. More significantly, he gained the support of several prominent community figures, including local church leaders and civil rights activists who believed in the power of rehabilitation. In 2006, Green began showing what prison officials considered meaningful progress. He enrolled in multiple rehabilitation programs, including anger management therapy and cognitive behavioral treatment. Prison records show he completed over 1,200 hours of therapeutic programs and maintained a perfect disciplinary record for his final 5 years in custody. He also earned his GED and completed vocational training in electrical maintenance, achieving high marks in both programs. These accomplishments would later prove crucial in convincing the parole board of his rehabilitation. The turning point in Green's bid for freedom came in 2008, when his case was reviewed by a new parole board. Among his strongest advocates was Apostle Fred Harris, a respected church leader who, in an unexpected twist of fate, was the father of Faith Green. Harris wrote multiple letters to the parole board, describing Green's transformation and providing personal assurances of support upon release. According to court documents, Harris's letters specifically mentioned how his church community would help Green reintegrate into society, offering both employment opportunities and spiritual guidance. The parole hearing process itself was notably contentious. Department of Corrections records show that several staff members and victims' advocates strongly opposed Green's release, citing the brutal nature of his original crime and expressing concerns about potential future violence. However, the two-person majority vote required for parole was achieved however, beneath the surface, troubling signs began to emerge. Neighbors later reported to police that they often heard loud arguments coming from the Green residence, particularly late at night. Gregory's work supervisors noted increasing incidents of aggressive behavior toward coworkers, documenting 3 separate warnings for hostile conduct between 2011 and 2013. Mental health professionals who later reviewed the case suggested that Gregory's apparent rehabilitation may have been superficial, masking deeper unresolved issues from his past trauma and previous violent behavior. The situation took a darker turn in 2014 when Gregory began making disturbing statements about his first wife's murder. During a church counseling session, he reportedly blamed LaTanya for her own death, claiming she had pushed him too far. This revelation deeply troubled the counselor, who documented the conversation and advised Faith to seek help. Bank records from this period show Gregory gradually gaining control over the family's finances, with Faith's name being removed from several joint accounts. He also began monitoring her phone calls and social media activity, behavior that mental health experts identify as classic signs of coercive control. By 2013, the facade of their happy family life had completely crumbled. Court documents revealed that Faith filed 3 separate police reports between January and June describing incidents of verbal abuse and threatening behavior. In one particularly frightening episode witnessed by their youngest daughter's babysitter, Gregory threw furniture across the room and made threatening gestures toward Faith. The babysitter's written statement described how Gregory's eyes seemed to change during these outbursts, noting that he appeared to be a completely different person from his usual church-going persona. The escalating abuse led Faith to seek legal protection in August 2013. She filed a detailed petition for a personal protection order, PPO, with the Wayne County Circuit Court, documenting over 15 specific incidents of threatening behavior. However, in a decision that would later be heavily criticized, Judge Sarah Thompson denied the PPO request, citing insufficient evidence of immediate danger. The judge's written opinion suggested that Gregory's steady employment, church involvement, and support from community leaders indicated he was unlikely to become violent. Tragically, this assessment would prove to be catastrophically wrong. Police records show that in the months following the denied PPO, domestic disturbance calls to the final chapter of the Green family tragedy began to unfold in early 2016. Faith, increasingly fearful for her safety and that of her children, filed for divorce in August 2016. Court documents reveal her desperate attempts to break free from Gregory's control, citing 23 separate incidents of threatening behavior in her divorce petition. Financial records showed Gregory had systematically drained their joint accounts, leaving Faith with limited resources to escape. Despite having a full-time job as a nutritionist earning $52,000 annually, Faith struggled to save money as Gregory monitored all her spending and had canceled her credit cards. The morning of September 21, 2016, started like any other day in Dearborn Heights. Neighbors reported seeing the children leave for school and Gregory went to work as usual. However, at approximately 1:15 p.m., Gregory returned home unexpectedly. Police records show he first confronted Faith in the kitchen, forcing her down to the basement. Using materials he had purchased the previous day from a local hardware store, zip ties, duct tape, and a new box cutter, he bound his wife. Security camera footage from the store showed Gregory appearing calm while making these purchases, suggesting the attack was premeditated. In an act of unimaginable cruelty, he shot Faith in the foot with a .40 caliber handgun and used the box cutter to slice her face from mouth to ear. What followed was a carefully orchestrated sequence of horror. When Chadney and Kara returned home from school at around 3:30 p.m., Gregory called them down to the basement. Faith, still conscious but unable to move or speak clearly due to her injuries, was forced to witness what happened next. According to the later police report, Gregory shot both teenagers execution style with the same weapon he had used on Faith. Ballistics reports showed the shots were fired from less than 2 feet away, indicating the teens likely saw their attacker in their final moments. The most heartbreaking part of this tragedy involved the youngest children. After murdering the teenagers, Gregory turned his attention to 5-year-old Coy and 4-year-old Khalil. Police investigation revealed that Gregory had modified his car's exhaust system the previous weekend, purchasing supplies from an auto parts store. Security footage showed him leading the young girls to the car, telling them they were going on an adventure. He placed them in the vehicle, parked in the closed garage, and connected a plastic tube from the exhaust pipe into the passenger compartment. Medical examiners later determined the young girls lost consciousness within minutes and passed away shortly after, while their father watched from outside the vehicle. In a display of chilling composure, Gregory methodically carried out the final acts of his horrific plan. After confirming the deaths of his young daughters, he carefully carried their bodies back into the house, placing them in their beds as if they were sleeping. At 6:37 p.m., Gregory walked onto his front porch, pulled out his cell phone, and dialed 911. The call, later released to the public, captured his eerily calm confession. "I've just killed my entire family." First responders arrived within 4 minutes to find Gregory sitting quietly on the porch steps, hands raised in surrender. Inside, they discovered a scene so horrific that several officers required counseling afterward. The community struggled to understand how this tragedy could have occurred without warning signs. However, a deeper investigation revealed numerous missed opportunities for intervention. Interviews with neighbors uncovered that many had heard arguments but hesitated to call police. School records showed Kara had recently confided in a teacher about tensions at home, but no formal report was filed. Most critically, Faith's denied request for a protective order might have prevented the tragedy. A subsequent review of local court procedures led to reforms in how domestic violence cases are evaluated. The most powerful moment of the proceedings came during Faith Green's victim impact statement on March 1st, 2017. Speaking for nearly an hour, Faith described the horror of watching her children's murders and her determination to survive despite Gregory's attempts to break her spirit. Her testimony, which moved several jurors to tears, detailed not only the events of September 21st, but also years of psychological abuse and control. Faith revealed how Gregory had systematically isolated her from friends and family, controlled their finances, and threatened her whenever she tried to leave. Medical experts testified that Faith's physical recovery would require multiple surgeries, while psychological evaluations indicated severe PTSD, requiring long-term therapy. Faith's statement also highlighted the often overlooked dangers of leaving an abusive relationship. She emphasized how she had been carefully saving money and planning an escape, unaware that this period statistically represents the most dangerous time for domestic violence victims. According to domestic violence experts who testified at the trial, 75% of domestic violence homicides occur when the victim is attempting to leave their abuser. Faith's testimony became a powerful educational tool later used in domestic violence prevention programs across Michigan to help other victims understand the risks and plan safer exits from abusive relationships. The trial concluded with Judge Michael Peterson's sentencing on March 15, 2017. His 40-minute statement criticized multiple systemic failures that contributed to the tragedy, including the parole board's 2008 decision to release Gregory and the court's failure to grant Faith's protection order. The judge emphasized how these institutional oversights reflected a broader failure to take domestic violence seriously. The case prompted several legislative proposals in Michigan, including stricter parole requirements for violent offenders and mandatory domestic violence training for family court judges. The Michigan Coalition Against Domestic Violence later cited this case as a catalyst for significant reforms in how the state handles domestic violence cases. The trial of Gregory Green became one of Michigan's most highly publicized cases in 2017, drawing national media attention and sparking intense debate about domestic violence laws. Major news outlets including CNN, ABC, and local Detroit stations provided daily coverage, with over 200 reporters attending the proceedings. The case gained such prominence that several documentary filmmakers requested permission to cover the story, though all were denied by the court to protect Faith's privacy. Domestic violence organizations across the country used the case to highlight the dangers of partner abuse. Evidence presented at trial showed Gregory's careful planning over several weeks. Security camera footage from various stores around Dearborn Heights captured him purchasing materials including zip ties, duct tape, and plastic tubing on different days to avoid suspicion. His internet search history, retrieved by FBI cyber analysts, revealed queries about carbon monoxide poisoning and the effects of various weapons. Bank records showed he had withdrawn large sums of cash in the weeks before the murders, leading investigators to believe he had planned to flee afterward but changed his mind for unknown reasons. The community's response to the tragedy was overwhelming. Over 3,000 people attended a candlelight vigil held outside the Green family home, and a memorial scholarship fund established in the children's names raised over $100,000 in just 2 weeks. Local religious leaders, including those who had supported Gregory's parole, publicly apologized to Faith and the community. The case led to significant reforms in Michigan's parole system, including a new requirement for unanimous board decisions in cases involving violent crimes. The Dearborn Heights City Council also established an annual Domestic Violence Awareness Day on September 21st, naming it Green Children Memorial Day, to honor the victims and educate the public about domestic violence warning signs. The murders sparked intense debate about how well the justice system protects families from people who have committed crimes before. Many people in the community couldn't understand how someone with a history of violence could be free to harm others. At community gatherings and on social media, residents expressed their anger about the system's failures. "He should never have been on the streets," said one resident, while others questioned why taxpayers should now have to pay for his imprisonment after such horrible crimes. The loss of Coy and Kaylee hit the neighborhood especially hard. Residents shared memories of seeing the children riding their bikes and playing games in their front yard. "Those kids brought so much joy to our street," said Sarah Thompson, who lived next door. "Every morning I look out my window and expect to see them waiting for the school bus, but they're not there anymore." The empty playground and quiet streets served as constant reminders of the tragedy that had struck their tight-knit community. The case led to widespread calls for change. Fred's health took a severe downturn as he struggled with the weight of what happened to his family. The stroke left him physically weakened, but the emotional pain was even worse. Friends said he would sit for hours looking at old photos of his grandchildren, tears running down his face. His pastor tried to help him find peace through prayer, but Fred kept saying he couldn't forgive himself. The man who once stood tall in his community became a shadow of himself, showing how deeply tragedy can affect even the strongest people. Faith's life fell apart in the years after losing her children. She couldn't sleep at night, haunted by memories of what happened. To cope with her pain, she started drinking heavily and taking anxiety medication. "Some days, I couldn't even get out of bed," she later told friends. The happy, outgoing woman people knew disappeared into a dark place of grief and depression. Her friends worried as they watched her struggle, but didn't know how to help her find her way back to life. In 2019, Faith finally reached out for help when she realized she was losing herself to grief and addiction. A local women's shelter connected her with counselors who understood domestic violence trauma. Little by little, she started putting her life back together. She joined support groups where she met other women who had survived similar situations. Through therapy and these connections, Faith slowly began to heal. "Each day was a small step forward," she said, "even though some days I felt like I was moving backward." As Faith grew stronger, she discovered that helping others gave her a reason to keep going. She started speaking at domestic violence awareness events, sharing her painful story to show other women they weren't alone. Her honest talks about loss, survival, and healing touched many hearts. Other survivors said her words gave them courage to leave dangerous relationships and seek help. Faith found that turning her pain into something meaningful helped her cope with her own grief. In 2022, Faith took another big step by writing a book about her experience. She titled it "The Monster Who Killed His Family Twice," telling the whole story of her life with Gregory Green and the terrible price she and her children paid. The 118-page book wasn't easy to write. Faith said she cried through many parts, but she felt it was important to share her story. She wanted other women to see the warning signs she missed and understand that help was available. The book, published on Amazon, reached many readers who found hope in her words. Faith's journey from victim to survivor to helper shows how people can rebuild their lives after terrible losses. She still has hard days when grief overwhelms her, but she's found ways to keep going. Through her work with domestic violence organizations, she's helped many women find safety and strength. Her story teaches us that while we can't change the past, we can use our experiences to help others avoid similar pain. Faith often says that helping other women heal has helped her find meaning in her own suffering. The Green family tragedy raises hard questions about giving people second chances. While some people truly change and deserve another opportunity, others, like Gregory Green, use those chances to cause more harm. There's no easy answer to knowing who deserves trust and who doesn't. Faith now teaches others to look carefully at actions, not just words, when someone says they've changed. She encourages people to trust their instincts and not ignore warning signs, even when they want to believe in someone. Her experience reminds us that while forgiveness is important, keeping ourselves and our loved ones safe must come first. The Green family tragedy stands as a devastating reminder that evil can hide behind the most ordinary facades. Faith Green's story shows us how the system meant to protect families can fail them in the worst ways possible. From ignored warning signs to denied protection orders, every missed chance to help became another step toward an unthinkable outcome. This case teaches us to look beyond surface appearances. Gregory Green fooled his community with a mask of reformation, but his actions revealed the monster underneath. 4 innocent children, Chadney, Kara, Coy, and Callie, lost their lives because too many people chose to ignore the red flags. Yet through unimaginable pain, Faith Green found the strength not only to survive, but to help others. Her journey from victim to advocate reminds us that speaking up about domestic violence can save lives. Her story teaches us that when someone reaches out for help, we must listen and act before it's too late. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Share it with others who might need to hear this important message. Your support helps spread awareness about domestic violence and its warning signs. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and join our community of people who believe in the power of sharing these crucial stories. Remember, sometimes the most important thing we can do is listen when someone asks for help. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next story.